All right, it's setting up. We'll be online in a few seconds.
Wow. It feels very fancy. It says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Done. Redirecting. That's it. I think we're on. Yes.
We are live.
We are indeed.
Yeah.
Perfect. We're live. We're online. We're on our YouTube channel. There we go. All right. So let's get started. Welcome,
yes,
everyone. Antoine, Mark, and special guest, Christopher Walker.
Hello. Thank you for having me on your show.
I really like your virtual background. Closely observed English teaching literature.
Yeah, these are my 3 YouTube channels because, why do 1 channel if you can do 3? But I figure it makes sense to split up the content because the English channel is to help students. They're not going to be interested in me waffling on about teaching techniques. I mean, I don't want to show them too much behind the curtain anyway, because they'll start to think, oh, that's all he does. So I set up a teaching channel. And then I sporadically make book reviews.
Nice.
I posted some book reviews online on YouTube about a year and a half ago and just forgot about it. I felt like doing it. So I was writing, I'd previously written some book reviews, so I read them out, but I also did book reviews of the sort of books that nobody seems to read and review on YouTube. Things like books by Chinua Achebe from Nigeria, things like that. So I just uploaded it all, went away, forgot about it, concentrated on the other stuff I was doing, came back to it after about a year and suddenly saw that I had like 250, 300 subscribers. And I was like, where did they come from? Wow. And some of the videos had thousands of views. Astonishing. So,
so people do read books.
Yeah. And they watch short videos where somebody says, yeah, this book's good. Read it. And that's... One person said, you call yourself closely observed literature? There was nothing closely observed about this book review. I felt really put in my place there. I thought, how can I get this guy on my team?
Well, that's the internet for you. I mean,
yeah, isn't it?
If you're in for a popularity contest, it's never going to work out.
Oh goodness, no.
So we have closely observed English, closely observed teaching, and closely observed literature.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And on the teaching channel, that's for teachers.
That's the idea. Yeah. So I've made videos about some of the sort of Zoom related things, or at least online teaching related things that people can do to get them through the pandemic. So if I have a little idea, it's so simple. Just to open Zoom and press record, even if there's nobody else in the meeting, and it records what you're sharing at the time. So it's very, very simple to then share the screen, go through things. It's like a screen grab thing, screencast. So the videos themselves might not be enormously visually appealing, but hopefully there are ideas that make the process of teaching online just a little bit smoother for those who need it.
Well, I hope by now most of us are used to Zoom, Google Meet, and all those things. I heard there's still people teaching on Skype. I haven't opened Skype in ages.
Yeah. We still use Skype a little bit. Skype, actually, I mean, this is the interesting thing about what's going on is that a lot of the companies that own these platforms have suddenly woken up to the fact that people were using them, and then they've started introducing their own things. So there are actually things on Skype that I like that aren't available on Zoom. For example, on Zoom, you've got the basic reaction thing. So you can do like the party popper, the hand clap, things like that. And they appear as a little icon in the corner of the screen. Who cares if that happens? I mean, who notices? If you're sharing the screen and you've got the gallery view, you're not even going to notice a hand clap. My children...
hand clap right now?
Yeah, you could do like a reactions thing. So I'll do a heart and there it goes. It's just stuck up in the little corner there. I don't know if you can even see it.
I can't, no.
No, I mean, what is that? Who cares? So Skype, on the other hand, my children have weekly sessions with a speech therapist. Not that they really need it, but speaking Polish on top of speaking English, there's a bit of interference. Speech therapist says, oh no, they've got a lisp. And then they hear me and say, oh no, it's just that they're English. but the speech therapist is on their side of Skype, and we've got the kids in front of the computer. And when the kids do something right, the speech therapist presses a button and the screen just kind of bursts into a heart, like it appears and fades, almost like a firework in the sky. And it's lovely. It's that sort of immediate feedback that is often missing from other platforms.
Nice.
So yeah, there are still things in favor, of trying out different platforms.
Hopefully the Zoom people are listening.
Well, possibly, yeah. I mean, each platform does something well, and then there's also Microsoft Teams, so it balances out. Hopefully, they're not listening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not a fan of Teams. Not a big fan.
No, me neither. Honestly, no.
It seems a bit too cumbersome.
Well, let's get into English teaching, because we've got a bit of a treat today. We met, I want to say a month ago. It was about a month ago at the International House Torin teacher training day, and that was fabulous. And it was really great to interact in that way when we were demonstrating each other's activities. So we were playing students, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So it's a surprise. I don't know what Christopher has got prepared. He doesn't know what I've got prepared. So it's a complete surprise, just as in a classroom scenario or online. And we're going to surprise each other with an activity, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Are you going first? Or am I?
You first, please.
Me first. Oh, right. Okay. So this is something that actually works a bit better if there are more than just the two of us. So I'm having to play two roles at once. Still, I think it might work, and it opens the door to a lot of possibilities that are exclusive to online teaching. Now, I've tried my best during the last 9 months to replicate the best of my classroom practices online. But at the same time, I don't want to just be the kind of guy who duplicates. This is different to face-to-face teaching. We have to realize it's different, and we have to treat it differently. And if you do that, if you go in with that kind of paradigm in mind, then you might start to think, oh, what is it I could never do before? And there are lots of pronunciation exercises that we could never do before in a physical classroom, simply because all of our students are physically there. And if one person's trying to do something that's a pronunciation task that's somehow secret, the other students are going to hear them. So there's no way of getting around it. So the little activity I've got for us is essentially a pronunciation version of the picture dictation exercise.
All right.
So you know how picture dictation works. One guy in the class secretly draws a picture. Then they have to communicate that picture in words to their partner. The partner does their best to draw what they've been told to draw. And at the end of that, they turn the papers around, and you can see who's made a pig's ear of what. And then they can go in and do a comparison exercise. Oh, you did this, but I did this. It could be a whole lesson rather than just a game. So we're going to try something that's a little bit like that, but with pronunciation. So I'm going to share the screen, and you might recognize this, actually. This is a very well-known, very well-constructed website, I have to say. It's very visually appealing. Resource education, perhaps. I like that logo. I like the text, the kerning, all of that. Wow, it's very nice. And what I would like you to do, Antoine, I'd like you to have a look at the paragraph about us. Okay. And I'd just like you to read it to me. Then I'm going to give you some feedback on how you read it, because I actually have a recording of somebody reading it. And I'm going to teach you how to match that recording.
All right.
Right. So just read it straight off, and I'll tell you what's similar and what's different between what you said and what the recording has.
All right. So normal voice.
Just normal voice to get us going.
Normal voice. We are EFL teachers and material creators. Teachers need materials that give them the flexibility and independence to work with their students and not complicate their lesson preparation. Students need teachers that are focused on developing their reflexes and fluency in English. That is what we believe in.
Very nice. Okay, so the first difference that I can notice between how you've pronounced everything there and how my recording has it is that you've read it like a normal person would read it. Unfortunately, the recording is a little bit different, so I'm going to have to train you.
All
Have
right.
another look at that first paragraph, and I want you to imagine that actually you're not you. You are the guy that does the voiceover for movie trailers.
For movie trailers?
Yeah, so you can imagine the movie trailers that you'll have seen, and it's like two people saying hello, and then the voiceover would be like, they said hello, or something like that. So what can you give me for that one then?
We are EFL teachers and material creators.
Very good. So that was just the first sentence. I liked it, but it was a little bit like the movie voiceover person had had a love child with Weird Al Yankovic. It was just a little bit, there was a bit too much bounce in there. Imagine that the movie that you're giving the voiceover for involves somebody realizing what Brexit actually means.
Realizing what?
What Brexit actually means for them. Yeah, so you've got to take all the joy out of your voice.
But still movie trailer, right?
Still movie trailer guy.
Okay. Brexit, okay. We are EFL teachers and material creators.
That's a bit better, actually. Yes, that's more like it. But now I'd like you to imagine the same that you've just done, but imagine that you spent the last 2 weeks smoking a year's worth of cigarettes.
All right. I'm Frank
it.
Sinatra all of a sudden, right? We are EFL teachers and material creators.
That actually sounds very similar to what I've got. Very nice. Okay. Now, looking at the second sentence, have you ever watched American TV? And I don't mean American TV shows. I mean American TV.
Like the news, things like that?
No, like literally, like, have you ever been in America and you thought, right, I'm just going to turn on the TV and see what happens to me?
Yeah, I was a kid, though.
Okay.
It was a while back.
In between shows and during shows and basically endlessly, they have advertising, as you know.
Oh, yes.
Now, one of the biggest differences culturally between the UK and America is that when you have an advert showing, I don't know, like medicinal products or something like that, all of the small print at the end of the advert is actually red. In the UK, it just appears on the screen, and then the nice voice says, if you want to know more, visit our website. But in America, they train people to get through that whole chunk of text in about 2 seconds. So that's what I want you to try for this sentence. You might need to try more than once.
All right. All right. Teachers need materials that give them the flexibility and independence to work with their students and not complicate their lesson preparation. Students need teachers that are focused on
that's brilliant. That was just that sentence, because that was how that sentence is done. You got it. You hit it. Wow. Very nice. Okay. So I hope you're paying attention. I hope you're keeping track of what you've been doing so far, because I'm going to get you to do it all from the top when we're ready. We're rehearsing at the moment. We're getting ready, but we're not quite there yet. Okay, now for the next sentence, if I remember the recording correctly, and I might be slightly wrong here, I'd like you to be one of those teachers who exaggerates emphasis. Like the teacher who says, so listen, guys, when there's important information in a sentence, the speaker usually emphasizes the important language. So give it a shot. Right. Just the next sentence, from students to English.
Can I focus on any word I like?
Well, whichever ones you think need emphasizing.
All right. Students need teachers that are focused on developing their reflexes and fluency in English.
I think that was actually pretty good. I don't think we need to work on that very much. That just leaves us the last sentence. And what I'd like you to do is read it as if you really, really believed in it. Which should be easy because you do, right?
Well, I believe in the whole thing, or just that phrase, because the phrase is
It would be quite self-referential.
Yes, I
It's
believe
like
that I believe in it.
Yeah. What is it that you believe in? I believe in pointing words in English, this and that. So, yeah.
That is what we believe in.
Very nice. There was a little bit of accidental William Shatner in there, but I think that was pretty
Big Star Trek
good.
fan here, so.
Excellent. So now I'd like you to go from the top. Remember how each sentence is different. Can you remember what you need?
Pretty much, I think so. The 20 packs of cigarettes a day for the first one.
Yep.
The second one, like reading like fine print. The third one, a teacher that overemphasizes key words. And the last one, I really believe in it. We are EFL teachers and material creators. Teachers need materials that give them flexibility and independence to work with their students and not complicate their lesson preparation. Students need teachers that are focused on developing their reflexes and fluency in English. That is what we believe in.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, now I'm going to do the bit that's liable to break because it's complicated when you're sharing the screen and you're like, okay, I'm going to do something that's not on the screen. Hopefully you'll hear this. Are you ready? Because I think I'm sharing sound. So tell me if you don't hear anything in the next few seconds. But this is the recording that I've been training you to get to. We are EFL teachers and material creators. Teachers need materials that give them the flexibility and independence to work with their students and not complicate their lesson preparation. Students need teachers that are focused on developing their reflexes and fluency in English. That is what we believe in. So, how do you feel that you did?
All right. We sometimes emphasize different words.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, I clearly heard those 4 different people. Well,
fantastic. Well, yeah. The 4 different roles, we could say.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So,
great.
So that's the activity. And there are lots of ways in which you can expand on that activity. So now that we've got mine and yours, we can do a comparison. What I can also do, you see, is I can send my student, and I do this quite regularly actually, to this website. This is vocaroo.com. I was talking about this website with a teacher colleague of mine a while ago. I said, hey, look what I've just found. And she said, yeah, I've been using that since 2010. I was like, okay, well, that would explain why it looks so simplistic. And yet it works so beautifully because there's no login. There's no advertising, which is great. I don't know how they cover the cost of doing this service, in fact. And when you're ready, because everyone's online, they've got microphones, or at least there's a way for them to record their voice. They just click the red button like I'm doing now. They start speaking into their microphone, and when they are ready, they press the stop button. Then they click save and share, and they get a handy little voca.ro address, which they can copy and paste into the chat. So I had my original recording. I could have gotten you to go here to make the recording. Then I could send both links to another breakout room or to a group in another breakout room and get them to do the analysis of the two. So they could look for the similarities and differences.
Sweet. No, it's very nice. Vocaroo.
Vocaroo, exactly right. Yes.
.com, right? It was .com?
Yes, that's right. So
Right,
I've been using it a lot because I've noticed that I've got some students who just don't like talking in a way that can be heard. Let's put it that way. They like to answer in the chat, but that's no good for pronunciation work. So if I want them to actually say something, and if it's something a bit more open-ended, they get all embarrassed doing it in front of their peers. So I send them off to Vocaroo to do it instead. I've also been doing a project where Jason Anderson, who's a big name in academia and research. He's done some fantastic work on reflective learning and teaching. He's often published in the big journals. He wrote a blog post recently about the merits or potential merits of reading texts aloud in class. So I wanted to do a little bit of experimental work on that. But I remembered from my own childhood what reading aloud meant. And that was one person in a class of 20 read a paragraph of Dickens whilst we all pretended to listen, just waiting until it was our turn. So a whole 40 minutes could very easily be eaten up by this reading aloud exercise. Now, I don't have the time for that, and I don't want to waste my students' time doing that. And this solves that problem because you get everybody reading aloud simultaneously. They mute themselves in Zoom. They go to Vocaroo. They listen to the model that I've given them. Then they read their text into Vocaroo, and then they send me the link. And then we have a kind of asynchronous part of the lesson. It's almost like homework marking for me. But I have a spreadsheet full of these Vocaroo links from my students so that I can go through and see where they're making their pronunciation problems apparent with reading aloud. So I've done a huge amount through this free service. It's just incredible that it's there, and it's
brilliant.
So open.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I don't know how they keep that service open with no ads, no login, but
I just have to hope that.
Thank you, Vocaroo.
I just have to hope that they don't suddenly get flooded with teachers sending their students there, and they're like, "Oh, how are we going to pay for this?" And then they have to take the service away. There are other services like it, but they're more complex, and they might require logins. And then you start to get into data protection territory. So I don't want to have any sort of barrier between my students and the thing that I want them to do.
No, I really like the simplicity of it. It's very nice. And I don't know about you in Poland, but I know that our students here in Russia, they still have an end of school exam. And the English part of that exam, there is a section where they're supposed to read out loud.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
I don't think that's part of the Matura. I think
Not anymore in Poland.
No, the way that the Matura, the school leaving exam for English, seems to work. The Cambridge exams, B2 first, C1 advanced. Now imagine that you'd been given the task to design a test of English. So you think, okay, well, why don't I just go and do one of these? So you go off and do a Cambridge exam. And then a couple of weeks later, you're like, oh, yeah, I did that thing, didn't I? What can I remember? And then you try to reverse engineer the exam based on the memories that you had a couple of weeks ago. That's honestly how the Matura feels to me. When I see examples of the tasks, when I see the way that the speaking is organized, it's like a pirated version of a movie that you find at a car boot sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Those are state exams. I finished school in France, and I remember our English teachers, who I was in a bilingual section, and our teachers, like 3 months before the end of year exam, French one, baccalauréat, our teachers told us, okay, guys, we're really sorry, but for 3 months now, we're going to have to treat you like idiots. Your English is way too good for the exam. We've got to dumb it down for you. You've got to know what past continuous is, because they actually had questions like that at the French exam.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah.
We were bilingual, so we didn't, especially our teachers never focused on that. They never told us that was past continuous.
Do you know, I really, just at a fundamental level, I really hate that idea. I've been reading or rereading in great part Michael Lewis's seminal work, The English Verb. So you can imagine a student who had studied their knowledge of grammar and the intricacies of tense by reading that book. And somebody said, okay, so how many tenses are there in English? Waiting for you to count out all 12. And you say, well, 2. There are 2. And then the examiners would be like, yeah, you've got no idea, son.
If I don't see that my students need to know the what the tense is called, I don't always use that meta language. It's not especially necessary. We've even got codes, like for example, like third conditional. I always it's different past. 2 words are enough to explain
Yeah.
third conditional. It's a different past. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You don't need to know it's third, fourth, fifth, 11th conditional. Who cares?
Numbering the conditionals doesn't help anybody because there's no correlation between the number and the meaning. So it suits people who write course books, I suppose.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Right. I think it's time for yours. I'm getting excited and a little bit worried.
Yeah, I thought. Okay, so we're gonna have a bit of fun here, actually, and it could be a continuation of what we were talking about, actually, because sometimes I do need to teach grammar in lessons. It happens. It's the reality of what students might expect, what parents might need, exams coming up, things like that. But the higher the level, I find the less and less. Well, the more and more complex the structures get, and the more and more practice students need to actually develop their fluency. If we go too fast, it gets confusing. And we started developing these things with Tom, these lessons or sessions where we focus on more soft skills. And by soft skills, I don't mean like, those stamps that are just put on activities, problem solving. There was a problem, we just made you solve a problem. Doesn't matter that you all shout at each other, but you develop your soft skill. No, we actually try to give students strategies, lead them towards a more constructive way of looking at it. And one of the first ones we do is sugarcoating, because it leads, in your native language, it's easier to focus on the impact that your words are going to have on the other. In a language that you're learning, you're focusing on just trying to say what you want to say, and you have less flexibility, less fluency to go over, okay, there are different ways I can say this. What's the best way in this context, this situation, this level of formality or familiarity, things like that. Sugarcoating is loads of fun. It's just painting a little coat of sugar around some kind of bad news. And we usually introduce it in a way I like using the couple of Jack and Rose, from Titanic. He traumatized me. I mean, I was a teenager when that movie came out, and I have to be honest, I love DiCaprio now as an actor, but back in the days, every single girl in my class was madly in love with him. So I hated the movie. I hated DiCaprio. But so we introduced Jack and Rose, and I tell them, guys, I'm going to change the story a little bit. Rose decided to go with the rich guy. So she breaks up with Jack. We're friends with Jack. How do we break the news to him? And we go over 3 basic things. We can focus on the positive in the past. Jack, remember life before Rose was brilliant. You were so carefree, adventurous. You could go here and there. Life was fantastic. Focusing on the positive in the future. Jack, you know what? Without Rose, you'll finally have time to focus on those. Or focusing on the negative in the present. Like, hey, Jack, good riddance. You know what? She was a snob. She was turning you into one of them. I know you're heartbroken right now, but it's for the better. And then we go into sugarcoating activities. So I'm going to give you some bad news that you've got to deliver. You got to tell me about this, but you got to sugarcoat it in some way. And it's really fun to do. So let's start with the price of chocolate has increased by 300%.
Right. Okay.
How do you tell me that very bad, unfortunate news, but sugarcoating it in some way?
Ironic use of the expression sugarcoat there, isn't it?
True.
Right. Okay. So I have to tell you, and I'm assuming that you like chocolate. Gosh. Okay. Okay. So Antoine, you know how you've been telling me recently that you really want to get in shape? You've put on a bit of can we call it pandemic panhandles? Something like that. Yeah. Well, have I got good news for you? You see, the government, in their wisdom, have decided to make it even easier for you to resist the temptation that is provided by chocolate by increasing the amount that you have to pay for it. This, of course, will make you think twice before you buy any sort of chocolate. You can start saving that money towards healthier snacks or even a gym membership.
True, true. All right. Well, I will save up a little bit for some chocolate, for Christmas and New Year's, but you're right. Apart from that, cutting off
and
chocolate.
just think how nice that chocolate will taste when you've gone without for a little while. When you come back to something that you've missed,
You're right.
I think you'll really savor the taste. Plus, I know how vivid your imagination is. I think if you just go into your mental safe space, your Sherlockian or Holmesian mental palace, you'll be able to take whichever chocolate you desire at any moment, and you'll imagine it on the tip of your tongue.
That's pretty much what you remind me all of a sudden of my mother when we were kids and we wanted to watch TV. She said, "Go play outside. Use your imagination."
Yeah, they don't say that anymore, do they?
No. All right, brilliant. Okay, sugar coating achieved. All right, more bad news. More bad news. Well, you know that I believed all my life that Elvis was still alive. Big fan of Elvis, and I always believed that he had not died. He was still alive. It turns out, you've got to tell me that it turns out that I was right. We just found out that Elvis was indeed alive, but he just died. It's like double bad news.
Antoine, there are so many things in life that you love. You love your family. You love the people close to you. You love animals in both an abstract and more concrete sense. But if there's one thing that I know that you love more than anything else, it's being able to tell people I told you so. And for years, you've been going around telling people Elvis lives. And people have been like, Antoine, you've been using those expired whiteboard markers again, haven't you? Well, guess what? You were right. You can go around and tell people I told you so. I mean, Elvis is dead. Again, I mean, he died somehow, tragically. But big picture, you were right.
I do love telling people that I was right.
Yeah, I told you so.
All right. Very sad news, very sad news. You got to tell me I'm not a superhero.
Gosh, where to start with that? Okay. Antoine, I have bad news for you. I was traveling down a deserted country road recently. I reached the crossroads. And standing on the corner of that crossroad, strumming an old acoustic guitar, was the devil himself. And he said, Mr. Walker, I've been waiting for you. It's like, oh, I know my Faust. You're going to have a deal for me, aren't you? And he said, yes, indeed. And I said to him, okay, well, what is that deal? Because, these things are tricky. They are very tricky. And he said, well, it's very simple. I'm going to give you whatever you desire, but I'm also going to take something away. And I thought, oh, okay. All right. Well, what I desire more than anything else in the world right now is for success to happen to me and my friends. And he said, all right, granted. But unfortunately, those of your friends who are currently superheroes or have any sort of superpower, I'm afraid I have to take that away. I was like, oh, that's a real shame. So yes, if you've tried using your X-ray vision to see if there is still some milk in the fridge, I know that's all you used it for anyway. And you will notice that you can't do that anymore. However, do be aware that success must just be around the corner, because the devil is always good to his word. I think that's what you know, we've got to think about here. And I have this deal with him. So sorry that it has cost you something, but I feel that if success comes our way, we should be grateful.
True, true. I mean, I do miss those X-ray, that X-ray vision.
Yes, but there was also a danger that you're going to give everybody you knew cancer. I mean,
you think so?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why X-ray radiographers go and stand behind the lead shield. They don't stand holding your hand when they go click. They go and hide. And if you're going around saying, "Oh, I think you've eaten too much," something, it's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, oh, I don't feel quite right." So yeah, it's probably as well that superpower is being stripped from you. I'm afraid, my friend.
I'll live with it. I'll live with it. I think the flying though, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but you know, probably because the drones have become so ubiquitous, the FAA in America, they've done like this new global thing where they don't allow drones to fly without a license, and they don't allow people to fly without an airplane. So I think I have saved you a problem there as well.
Well, you know, for the past 4 years, I wasn't planning on flying to the US anyways.
Yeah, but they've kind of made it so that everywhere has to follow suit. Yeah,
Americans.
Really? Yeah, it's the Americans. Yeah, I would say just fly over there and use your X-rays to sort it all out, but sorry, too late.
Okay, well, I hope the success you're talking about is at such a level that we can do those things. We can influence.
Well, I did manage to put my USB memory stick into the computer the first time. I didn't have to rotate it and try again or anything. So, success!
Bravo, bravo! It was definitely worth it.
I like this. I like this sugar coating. You could do the opposite, couldn't you? It's like, I want you to do the anti-sugar coat on some good news.
Mm-hmm.
So I could say to you, Antoine, you're going to tell your partner. Are you married? I don't even know that about you. You say that as if, like, for the purposes of this role play, sure, why not?
No, not at all.
So no. You've just won $1 million, but you have to tell your wife in such a way that it makes it seem like bad news.
Well, so are you?
I'm taking over here. This is a coup.
Yes, but I was. So
it's a coup d'etat.
Yes.
To use the French, a coup d'etat. This was your task, but now it's mine.
All right.
So the good news is you've just won $1 million, but you've got to tell this good news to your wife in such a way that it comes across as being bad news.
Well, it is terrible news. It is terrible news. I mean,
yeah.
Darling, can I? Yes.
I mean, you can. Yeah.
So listen, darling, I've got terrible news. I'm sure we've talked about this over the past couple of years. We've talked about it. It seems that we can never earn enough. Every time I've earned a little bit more, you've earned a little bit more. We found new ways to spend money. And that's the way society is nowadays. It's terrible. It's terrible. There's never enough. And oh boy, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen now because this is just off the roof. I just earned $1 million. I'm kind of scared of the consequences. Like, what are we going to spend this money on? And are we going to get used to it? Are we going to need to earn $1 million like every month, every week, every day in the future? You know what? I suggest, I know this great YouTube channel, Closely Observed. They could definitely do with a $1 million donation. So I suggest, well, we'll keep $100, $200 for Christmas and the New Year holidays, and we'll just donate the rest to Closely Observed YouTube channel. What do you think, darling?
I can't say no to that. I think the way that you've sold it to me, yeah. Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun twisting bad news into good news into bad, and yeah, that's the kind of thing I really like doing with students once they're B1, B2 level. It's great speaking practice.
It is.
They are focusing on whatever was in the sessions before, but they're also thinking about how they can twist.
Yes.
And
it reminds me a little bit, thinking of kind of philosophy. Do you know the old, gosh, what is it? It's one of those like folk tales of the old wise man in the village. And all these things happen. Like, wise man, my wife has just given birth. It's a son. Isn't that wonderful? And the wise man says, we'll see. And then a bit later, war breaks out and all the young men are conscripted. Oh, wise man, my son has just been conscripted into the army. Isn't it terrible? And the wise man says, we'll see. And then he goes off to fight, but he liberates a village and he comes back with a young woman that he's fallen in love with. And he goes, wise man, my son is back and he's brought a woman with him that he loves. Isn't it great? And the wise man says, we'll see. And it's like it varies between the good news and the bad, but the response is always the same. We'll see. And it's this idea that when things happen, they can be good and they can be bad, but they can also be both or neither. And it's a philosophical point of view as to which one you go for, if you go for one at all. So I suppose this opens the door to a wider, more kind of philosophical discussion with your students about what it means to have
You're absolutely
news.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I tend to do more sugarcoating than the anti-sugarcoating that you suggested, especially at the beginning, because we're kind of looking, we're trying to focus on the glass is half full, basically.
Yes.
And the anti-sugar coating, we'll do it maybe the session after, or 2-3 sessions after, just for them to focus. Because I'm more of a glass is half full kind of guy. And I don't know about you in Poland, actually, but in Russia, a lot of people like calling themselves realists. They're not optimists or pessimists, they're realists. But generally speaking, the glass does tend to be half empty more than half full.
Yeah, I think that it's a sort of insulation measure for a lot of people, isn't it? They've been disappointed before. They know that if they get too excited about something, something will come along and spoil the fun or take away what they wanted. So it's better to be, it's one step away from sour grapes, to go back to Aesop, isn't it? So yeah. I think you can definitely understand that. And also, I suppose that some people, if they have been treated that way in life, might look at others who are more optimistic and think that they're not optimistic, they're just naive.
Yes.
So there can be that aspect to consider as well. Again, a discussion topic for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Not just are you a glass half full kind of person, but what does it mean? How do these people view other people who have a different perspective? Yeah. Wow, I like it.
Works with all age groups.
Yeah. Do you know what I like about these activities, actually, Antoine? Something that I like about them a lot is that what superficially seems like a fun 10-minute activity can actually provide the foundations for a whole lesson or even series of lessons that would actually add a huge amount of value in terms of a student's English knowledge, but also those soft skills that you've been talking about. I hate the one problem solving, though. I don't like that expression, problem solving. Been married for 10 years. Solve is not part of the vocabulary. Yeah. The other one is, but not the second part. So I don't know if I missed a day of school and they taught me all of that. I don't know. But yeah, problem solving is not. It should be problem amelioration, but it doesn't roll off the tongue the same way, does it?
Something like that, yeah.
No, empathy, definitely. You can become more empathetic if you play these sort of role play games and you try and, look at this guy that he's desperate to sugarcoat everything. Why? What is it about that person? You can start talking about the person who has been role playing. How have they arrived in this place in their lives where they need to sugarcoat everything?
You're absolutely right. It's kind of I find one of the first principles, if you want to develop soft skills, things like that, the focus of the sugarcoating activities, and we've got a bunch. You're right. I have entire sessions, 45 minutes, that can be just focused on sugarcoating.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to focus on the fact that the number one principle, you know what? You're communicating. Demonstrate that the other matters.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. Communication is it's not just about you expressing yourself.
Yeah.
Here are all my words. Here are all my ideas. Here are all my opinions. Whoa, 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 whoa. Demonstrate that the other matters. And sugarcoating is a great way to do that. Very interesting.
I like that activity. I'll give it a go.
All right, Chris, it's already almost 10 to 7 here.
The time goes quickly when you're having fun.
Exactly. So it was a great session today with Christopher Walker. We're going to, on this note, we're going to end our live stream, our live podcast. Check out Closely Observed. And you've got 3 channels to check out, actually. Mm-hmm. English, teaching. Come on, we're teachers. Literature is definitely interesting to us as well.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I did focus on Jack and Rose from Titanic. I could have picked some literature exampple.
You could, yeah.
Jack and Rose,
like they're terrible. It's a terrible story. It's all like, so Rose, tell me about that enormously rewarding relationship that you had with your husband, you know, the one you had those children with. Huh? No. I met this guy on a boat sometime.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Shh. It's hugely successful.
I know, that's the worst thing.
Well, I do like Jack and Rose as an example because yes, everybody knows them and they're such vivid. I mean, him sinking at the end, all the room that there is on the, come on.
I like the fact that she technically, but not literally, left him high and dry. Because it was quite the opposite.
Yes.
The language.
Language is beautiful.
Isn't it just? Well,
right.
Antoine, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. And I hope that your immediate future is as successful as the devil promised.
Definitely hope so. And thanks for the deal.
No problem. Sorry about the X-ray vision.
I'll get over it. All right, Christopher. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And we might do this again. It was a lot of fun.
I think we should. Yeah, definitely.
Surprising each other with the fun activities. All right. Have a great weekend, Chris.
Thank you very much, and see you around. Bye-bye.
See you around. Bye-bye.